Criminal organizations are using ubiquitous technical surveillance to find and kill police informants. Hawaiian Airlines' second major North American airline hit with cyber attack this month. Bluetooth flaws could let hackers spy through your microphone, and U.S. Supreme Court upholds Texas porn ID law. This is Cybersecurity Today, and I'm your host, David Shipley. Let's get started. A stunning report by the U.S. Department of Justice's Office of the Inspector General has revealed an existential threat to the work of the FBI and other government agencies, so-called Ubiquitous Technical Surveillance, or UTS. UTS refers to the global proliferation of internet-connected cameras and the thriving trade in vast amounts of communications, travel, and location data. In the report, released late last week, it was revealed that a cybercriminal working for the Sinaloa drug cartel obtained an FBI official's phone records and used Mexico's surveillance cameras to track and kill the agency's informants in 2018. The incident was revealed in an audit of the FBI's efforts to mitigate the risks of UTS. The report details how the cartel operative identified an FBI assistant legal attaché to the U.S. Embassy in Mexico City. It showed how they were able to use the attaché's phone number to obtain calls made and received, as well as geolocation data. The report said the operative used Mexico City's camera system to follow the FBI official throughout the city and identify people the official had met with. The cartel then used that information to intimidate and kill potential sources or cooperating witnesses. The collection of granular location data from people's phones has proven to be a double-edged sword for law enforcement and intelligence agencies. While they have benefited from UTS in their investigations, criminal organizations can also use those same tools to find and kill informants, a crucial resource that many complex investigations depend on. The audit report said technological advances since 2018 have made it easier for less sophisticated nations and criminal enterprises to identify and exploit vulnerabilities. It's faster and easier for them now more than ever. This is an example of cybersecurity gaps in critical infrastructure and the risk of unchecked data brokers pose in getting people hurt or killed, and it makes us all less safe. And this news comes after the assassination of former Minnesota House of Representatives Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark, with the discovery of a list of data brokers and instructions on how to use them found in the accused murderer's car. The assassin had earlier tried to kill Democratic State Senator John Hoffman and his wife, Yvette, in their home. John Hoffman was shot 9 times, and his wife 8 times. Both are recovering. The Hortmans were buried on Saturday. The killer had disguised himself as a police officer, and a list of dozens of other potential targets was found by police along with the names of 11 different data brokers. The list included notations about what services were free to use and how much information they required in order to obtain detailed data about the individuals being searched for, according to an FBI affidavit. Data brokers collect a vast amount of detailed information on all of us, including names, home addresses, phone numbers, as well as our relatives' names and home addresses, and publish that information online or trade it to other brokers. They typically require paid access, but anyone buying the data can do so without much or, if any, vetting. Lawmakers from various states have worked on legislation to force data brokers to delete data on politicians and law enforcement officers. But everyone should have those same rights for the exact same reason: physical safety. Court officials, journalists, medical professionals, victims of intimate partner violence, members of targeted communities. The list goes on and on. Privacy is a fundamental human right, and increasingly, it's crucial for physical safety. Hawaiian Airlines warned Thursday night that some of its IT systems were disrupted by a cyber attack, although flight operations were not. They did not disclose the exact nature of the attack, but the language they used was typical of that you can find in a ransomware incident. As of Sunday afternoon, no further details on the Hawaiian attack have been provided. The attack comes a week after Canadian airline WestJet described it had also been the victim of a cyber attack. As with the Hawaiian Airlines incident, flight operations thankfully were not compromised. WestJet has since not disclosed any further details on its cyber attack, which also looks likely to be ransomware. Friday night, the FBI said that the notorious threat actor Scattered Spider was observed targeting major airlines. Scattered Spider refers to a loose collective of mostly English-speaking teenage males who work with the international ransomware gangs. The group was most recently behind over $600 million in disruptions to the food and retail sector in the UK, and it has turned its attention to the insurance industry, hitting Aflac earlier this month. Scattered Spider has been on a tear since 2025, with successful attacks on Dior, The North Face, Cartier, Victoria's Secret, Adidas, Coca-Cola, and United Natural Foods. The group gained notoriety for attacks on MGM and Caesars Palace. The key to Scattered Spider's success is their use of social engineering. They're prolific users of phishing by email, phone call, and text message. They've used SIM swapping hijacks to defeat multi-factor authentication. They've also used MFA fatigue, also known as MFA bombing, to get targets to approve access. The group has also been known to use attacker in the middle, or AITM, phishing kits like EvilJinx to steal live user sessions. All of these tactics have laid bare the mislabeling of MFA tools as being quote-unquote phishing resistant. MFA tools are important. They help defeat brute force attacks up to 99% of the time. But a determined attacker, as shown, will find ways to defeat them if your people and processes aren't resilient as well. Scattered Spider has even gone so far as to social engineer domain registrars to take control of an organization's DNS records, to hijack mail routing or MX records, to capture inbound emails, and to take over a business app environment like Google Workspace or Office 365. Their latest successes use targeted attacks on help desk processes. They gather information from public sources like LinkedIn, then use social engineering pressure tactics to convince help desk teams to reset privileged user access or grant new access. And there is no easy technical solution to threats like Scattered Spider. It takes a combination of technology control, security culture, and process change. If you want to make your organization resilient to Scattered Spider and other threat actors now copying their highly successful tactics, you need to change your help desk processes. You need to ensure that your help desk personnel are incentivized to challenge access requests sufficiently. And stop measuring your help desk on access requests like it's a typical service request that should be solved as quickly as possible to the lowest level as possible. And additionally, if anyone in your organization, regardless of title, gives your help desk any trouble or disrespect for a more rigorous process, those individuals need to be called out. That's how you create a more secure culture. That's how you build resiliency to Scattered Spider. We can now add another set of Bluetooth vulnerabilities to the long list of ways devices can be hacked and turned into convenient Internet of Things wiretaps. More than 24 audio devices from 10 vendors use the same Bluetooth chipset that can be hacked for eavesdropping. Researchers confirmed that 29 devices from Beyerdynamic, Bose, Sony, Marshall, Jabra, JBL, JLab, Irismax, More Labs, and Teufel are affected. The list of impacted products includes speakers, earbuds, headphones, and wireless microphones. A chain of critical vulnerabilities can be leveraged to take over a targeted product. In some phones, an attacker within connection range may be able to even extract call history and contacts. These vulnerabilities were disclosed at the Trooper Security Conference by researchers at the cybersecurity company ERNW. They impact the AROA system on a chip, which is used in the True Wireless or TWS systems. The good news is that these vulnerabilities weren't remotely accessible over the internet. They rely on close proximity within standard Bluetooth range, which is typically about 10 meters or 33 feet, though newer versions of Bluetooth can reach up to 240 meters or 800 feet. Factors such as walls and competing radio traffic have huge impacts on Bluetooth range. The vulnerabilities tied to this are CVE 2025-20-700, which is a 6.7 on the severity score, or medium, missing authentication for GATT services. CVE 2025-20-701, another 6.7 medium, missing authentication for Bluetooth BR EDR, and CVE 2025-20-702, a 7.5 or high severity score, critical capabilities of a custom protocol. While the vulnerabilities as they were not remotely executable, the researchers did disclose that vulnerable device firmware could potentially have been rewritten to enable remote code execution. That would have laid the groundwork for a vulnerable exploit capable of propagating across multiple devices. It's not a stretch to see how criminals could use a vulnerability like this to create a chain of infected devices across law enforcement, informants, and others. Or, another example, how these kinds of vulnerabilities could be used to target politicians' devices, to harvest conversations, or to track them. Improving the security of digital devices everyone depends on is vital to improve the protection from all sorts of crimes, digital or very serious physical crime. Finally, a U.S. Supreme Court decision has upheld the legality of Texas's porn ID law. On Friday, in a 6-3 decision that could reshape online privacy and free speech in the United States, the Supreme Court upheld Texas's age verification law, which was one of the first of more than a dozen such laws since passed by other states. The law requires websites publishing pornographic content to check all visitors are over 18. It has $10,000 fines per day for websites that are more than 1/3 sexual material that don't have age verification in place, with additional penalties of up to $250,000. The law also forces such sites to display warnings about the health risks of pornography. The US isn't the only country to try and pass such age verification laws. The UK did so years ago, only to delay and eventually abandon them in 2019. Since then, a wave of technology companies has emerged to sell age verification software. These methods can include, but aren't limited to, checking someone's identity against a government ID, providing banking details, or using face-checking systems that can predict someone's age. The idea is to have third-party companies, not necessarily the pornographic websites, do the checking. Privacy and civil liberties experts have noted that any collection of someone's access or use of pornographic material can have devastating consequences. Examples include the breach of adultery website Ashley Madison, which was linked to at least one suicide. And the risks for these services are real. One major ID verification service used by TikTok, Uber, hospitality, and banking services, called AU10TIX, or Authentic, suffered a data breach last year after it exposed administrative credentials online for more than a year. In Canada, Senate Bill S-209 also seeks to put similar age verification tools on pornographic websites. Now, last week, the preliminary results of an age-checking trial in Australia, which had passed recent laws to ban children under 16 from accessing social media, found such systems may not be effective. As well, virtual private networks, or VPNs, can be used to easily circumvent age-based verification requirements that are based on geography. In addition to the severe personal risk faced by individuals if identity verification services are breached, the presence of such controls may drive people to illegal websites that may attempt to infect their devices or could be used as part of criminal money laundering efforts. As always, stay skeptical and stay patched. We're always interested in your opinion, and you can contact us at editorial@technewsday.ca or leave a comment under the YouTube video. I've been your host, David Shipley, sitting in for Jim Love. Thanks for listening.